Hey guys, what's good? Welcome back to JDB Selects. Happy New Year. We're officially in 2024, which means the season is just around the corner. I've got another predicted teams list video for you today, this time the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. So let's just rip straight into it. The Doggies had a pretty poor year last year. They finished 15th under new head coach Cameron Ciraldo with just a 29% win rate. Really tough year for the Dogs. They're obviously in a stage of rebuild, new head coach, key players coming and going. This year they have signed a ton of players. It's a wee bit of a revolving door at the Doggies franchise at the moment. So many players coming and going. So hopefully the buys that they've picked up will help them have a better season in 2024. So let's have a look at that. So in terms of losses for this year, Paul Alamotzi has moved to the Panthers. Jake Averillo has gone to the Dolphins. Fa'amanu Brown is off to the Super League with Hull. Andrew Davey from the Eels previously as well has retired. Kyle Flanagan has followed his dad to the Dragons. A bit of a wish, Ivan and Nathan, if you ask me. Jaden Okunbor is also off to the Super League with Hull. Tavita Pangai Jr. obviously retired to take up boxing, although, dare I say it, he may be back in a few years' time. Corey Waddell has moved on to Manly. And then one of their favourite sons, Josh Reynolds, has hung up the boots again. So as I mentioned at the top, a lot of players moving on from the Dogs, which does mean they have a lot of room to bring new players in, and boy, have they. Big one at the top there, obviously Stephen Crichton coming across from the Panthers, a bit of a key marquee signing for the Dogs going forward. Three-time premiership winner, everyone knows just how good Crichton is, arguably the best centre in the comp. Joshy Curran, bit of a soft spot for me. He has left the Warriors and is joining the Dogs next season. In my opinion, obviously a great buy for the Dogs. He goes out and he gives 110% week in and week out, no matter where he's playing. Drew Hutchison, to a bit more depth in the halves, coming in from the Roosters. Kurt Mann coming across from the Knights, another good pickup. Jaden Salmon, another player from the Panthers the Dogs have snapped up. They've picked up Blake Taaffe from the Rabbitohs as well. Another great signing, good utility player / fullback. Connor Tracey from the Sharks, Jake Turpin from the Roosters, and the big one at the bottom there, Bronson Xerri, returning to the NRL after serving his 4-year suspension for popping steroids. It'll be really interesting to see how he goes this season. He'll obviously have to win, the trust and respect of rugby league fans back. But in my opinion, 4 years was far too long. He obviously deserved to be stood down and suspended from playing. I think 4 years is a bit extreme, and they did, make an example of him, which, you have to do. But looking forward to seeing him back in the NRL this year. Personally, I think we should cut him some slack and let his football do the talking. Obviously, actions speak louder than words, so if he comes back, plays really well, maintains a high level of professionalism, and doesn't get caught doping again, then you've got to hand it to the kid. So again, a lot of players moving on, a lot of new, decent, big name players coming to the Dogs this season, but will that make the difference? We'll find out. Time will tell, obviously, but on paper, again, a very solid lineup. Let's just get stuck into it. Starting at fullback for me, I've gone Connor Tracey. Now, a lot of people may be having Stephen Crichton as their number one for the Dogs come round one. Personally, I'm not sold on the idea of Crichton being a fullback. I wasn't completely convinced in the times I have seen him play fullback, last season especially, whereas Connor Tracey was outstanding for the Sharks in that number one jersey when Will Kennedy went down. The dude's an absolute beast. One of those no-nonsense, non-flashy kind of fullbacks, similar to sort of Dylan Edwards or Chance Nickel-Klokstad, where he just makes good meters. He's got good speed, averaging 197 meters per game. That's right up there with the best. 32 tackle breaks and 3 tries. He deserves, in my opinion, first crack at that fullback jersey. I think, again, Crichton is the best centre in the comp. You'd be silly to take him away from that position. He can have, even at centre, he can have such an impact on games. I'd like to see Connor Tracey given the first shot, so that's why I have him starting at number 1. And at number 2, obviously the Fox, Josh Addo-Carr. A real mixed bag for him last season. I think he spent quite a bit of time out with injury, only playing 15 games. But again, you look at some of those stats for 15 games and it's pretty impressive, right? 11 tries, 11 line breaks, 52 tackle breaks, and 122 meters per game. The Fox is often referred to as the fastest player in the comp. I think we can all agree at this stage that is not the case. However, seeing the Fox in space is a thing of beauty, especially with the haircut he's sporting at the moment. So looking forward to seeing the Fox get more game time in 2024. I do think with the backline that they have, or the potential backline they have this season, he will get more opportunities in space, which is what he wants, and he's a classy finisher too, so he'll put them away if you can give him good ball. Moving now to the centres, at number 3, I've gone Bronson Xerri. We did just spend a bit of time on Bronson, but he has been out of the game for 4 years. He last played for the Sharks in 2019, where he played 22 games with 13 tries, 9 try assists, 14 line breaks, and averaging 123 meters. Really hard to say how I think he'll go this year. 4 years is a long time to be out of the game. And during those 4 years, he wasn't allowed to play Oz Tag, you name it. He was completely banned from playing any competitive sport inside Australia. So he obviously hasn't been able to maintain that level of performance. However, by his accounts, he has been training really hard, working on his fitness, all of those things. So I am really excited to see him back playing NRL this season. And for me, he should get that first crack at number 3. And the other centre, I've gone Stephen Crichton. Again, we just touched on it, but I personally think Crichton is best suited to start at centre. I know he does want to play fullback, but for me, he is the best centre in the competition. And playing him at fullback when you've got some really good depth there in the likes of Blake Taaffe, Connor Tracey, obviously, I think Crichton should start at centre. Obviously, that could change depending on how preseason goes, etc., etc. But for me, I think Crichton is a centre and should stay at number 4. And on the other wing, I've gone Jacob Kiraz, really promising talent, 6 tries in 19 games last year, averaging 164 meters, makes really good meters coming out of his own end, 76 tackle breaks is no easy feat, a really talented prospect and still has years and years ahead of him. I know he is a big fan favourite for the Doggies and neutrals, myself included, so I am looking forward to seeing Jacob Kiraz again in 2024. And at number 6, I've gone Matt Burton. Now, obviously, Burton did play centre during his time at the Panthers, and then since coming to the Dogs has moved into the halves. I am going to keep him there to start round 1. I know they have brought the likes of Hutchison. They've got Toby Sexton now, who obviously plays 7. Burton is a dangerous man anywhere in that back line. But man, that Burton bomb is like no other. You can't not have him kick the ball when he has a boot like that. Decent stats too, to be fair, looking back at it, right? 16 try assists in 23 games. That's right up there with some of the best 5'8" in the game. 14 forced dropouts. He's only going to get better too, right? I think that was his first official full season at 5'8", so he is only going to get better, but he can play anywhere in that back line, and the Dogs should still be alright. And in at halfback, obviously Toby Sexton. He's only played 8 games last season with 3 tries and 5 try assists, some really good stats. It was a real shame he got injured towards the back end of the season because I did think he made an immediate impact on the Dogs' attack. He gave it some much needed direction and really played like a seasoned halfback, and that's something that they were missing for a good chunk of that season. So looking forward to Toby getting a full crack, a full preseason under his belt as well with the Dogs. I think he can be a pretty important part to the Dogs' success. And if he can replicate that form he showed when he came on the scene late last year, the Dogs could go a lot better in 2024. Moving now to the forwards, at number 8 I've gone Max King. He played 23 games last year with 2 tries, 17 tackle breaks, averaging almost 10 hit-ups per game for 107 meters. He's only 26 years of age and he's already played for the Titans and the Storm, so he's been around a few good systems now. Obviously room for improvement, but I think he should get the first crack at number 8 come round 1. In at 9, Reed Mahoney. So poor Reed, he's probably his own worst enemy last season, trying so hard to get his team up and in the process probably making himself look a lot worse than he was. 24 games, 4 tries, 8 try assists and 9 line break assists. He's a great hooker, but like I said, last year it just felt like he was overplaying his hand, trying too hard, trying to be too smart. So hopefully with some of the more experienced players the Dogs have brought on this season, he can play a bit more sensible and structured football, because at his best he is right up there with the best hookers. He just needs that support around him so he doesn't feel like he has to be the one-man army in this Dogs side. And the other starting prop, I've gone Ryan Sutton. He joined the Dogs last year after spending 4 years at the Raiders. Played a lot of interchange and lock last season, but given some of the buys the Dogs have pulled off in the off-season, I do think he'll play more of a prop role moving forward. Only 13 games last year with a duck egg in the try column. Certainly one area where the Dogs are lacking is these big middle forwards. They do have the likes of Liam Martin, Kitione, Kautoga, Chris Patolo. They do have some there. I guess when you look at their backline versus their forward pack on paper, there are a lot of big name players in that backline and a few lesser known names in the forwards. But for me, I've gone Ryan Sutton. Moving now to the second row, number 11, Jacob Preston. The dude became an instant cult hero for the Bulldogs. That mullet mixed with his playing style is just an absolute joy to watch. 20 games, 10 line breaks, and a whopping 95.5% tackle efficiency. He's got the potential to go down as a Doggies legend should he stay with the club. He's only 22 years of age, only played 20 NRL games. Last year was his debut season. Really good player for the Dogs, and he'll be super important to their success in 2024 and also years to come. The other back row I've gone for Big Viliami Kikau. Poor Kikau, man. He had an absolute horror year last year, only getting 9 games in with was it a pec injury? And he may have even sustained that at training from memory. Don't quote me on that, but he obviously missed a lot of game time last year. Really struggled to have any impact in the games he did play, which is understandable. Hopefully Kicks can have a full crack at it this year, stay fit and healthy, because he was so destructive with the Panthers, and it was such a shame to see him not at his best last year. And again, just like Jacob Preston, if Viliami Kikau's fit and firing, running off short balls, running over small halves, I mean, he's near impossible to stop with a head of steam, so Kikau in at number 12. And finally at lock, I've gone Kurt Mann. Now the Dogs do have a fair few options at lock this season. They did just sign Josh Curran, who plays lock. You do also have the likes of Max King, who I've got at prop, who has spent time at lock. But I've gone Kurt Mann, the ultimate utility. 18 games for the Knights last year, 4 tries, 27 tackle breaks, and a 92.2% tackle efficiency. The dude is the epitome of the word utility. Gives 110%, can play anywhere you put him. So for me, I've gone Kurt Mann at 13. Ooh, and just like that, the first video of the new year is done and dusted. Thank you very much for watching. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like on the video, and let me know who your predicted team list is for the Dogs in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.